and of that number, 65% are girls. So there's more emphasis placed on educating a boy than educating a girl. That's the first problem they have to face. And then when these girls grow up and they try to take on like STEM careers, there are negative stereotypes relating to sexuality that are often projected on women who take on, who take on STEM or tech careers. So that's on the stereotypes, normative challenges. And then we have, quality education, the lack of quality education. Some of the work that TechHat does, and we've done this over the last 3 years in 19 schools, 19 local education authority schools in the FCT. Some of these schools don't have electricity. How do you want to teach technology without electricity? Some of these schools don't have chairs. So the lack of infrastructure in schools, the lack of qualitative education in schools. As a matter of fact, our project teaching digital literacy in schools is now going to teach teachers, because these teachers don't have the skills. So by the time we get the children all excited, then they go to their teachers to ask questions and there's no capacity there to respond. So that's another challenge. I've already talked about the lack of infrastructure. I think something else that I can speak to is the high entry cost for infrastructure. How much are mobile phones? How much is data? What is the poverty rate in Nigeria today? If parents have to make the decision between feeding their kids and pursuing some phantom career, they will make the decision to feed their kids. So the access to entry, to STEM careers or to infrastructure that can then inspire STEM careers needs to be lowered. And then I'll say poor investment. A lot of times the government says, oh, we're going to spend this amount. A hackathon is not an investment in technology. It's definitely not an investment in education, because hackathons benefit, for instance, one person or a group of people who have ideas. But government by itself, however, is the largest purveyor of governance for any nation, for any community, for any state. So most times I think instead of hosting these hackathons, why don't you take that money, go to one community, upskill the teachers, give university, give them infrastructure, and the innovation will self-develop. It will be I don't really know how to put it, but it will be homegrown. You won't need to force it. People can't be, jumping from one KK to the other, trying to sell akara after school or trying to sell after school. And then you think, the enabling environment will exist for them to, as it were, take on some of these things. So I think those are some of the challenges. And of course, finally, we don't have enough role models. I mean, listening to Judith, I'm inspired by her story, but what access does a child in a community, in a poor community, have to Judith, to listen to, okay, she studied this, she fell in love with these subjects, and that's why she's where she is today. So I think accessibility to role models so that people can, okay, if I need to do, I mean, you spoke of having been advised wrong by a teacher. Imagine if you had someone like Judith to tell you, you need to study this, you need to study that. So that absence of role models, the inaccessibility to role models is another challenge. Thank you.
That is true. Thank you so much, Chioma. So based on what you said, like I can see all these problems. We know how much, especially when it comes to our own direct communities. And I think this is one of the reasons I am here moderating for ILMI Children's Fund, because this is at least one small piece that is bringing a solution. I believe, Chioma, now the 50 girls have access to you as a role model, and I hope the same too for Judith. So Judith, I'll take it to you now and say, what do you think are the solutions, or what solutions do you know of that has helped bridge this gap based on all the problems that Chioma just listed out?
Sure. I will say, part of the solution is really to start early, right? Create awareness amongst young girls about this thing called STEM, right? It's start at a young age. Educate them on what this means, right? Encourage them to take interest. Really break it down for them in a way that connects STEM to issues that are relevant to them, right? I like how Chioma opened when she explained what does STEM mean, right? And she talked about, hey, you have your fan at home, and to get it to work, you have to connect two cables, right? So it's really taking technology, taking science, taking this, nebulous thing called innovation, and translate that to issues that are relevant to young girls, and explain to them how those issues can be solved with the use of by leveraging STEM disciplines, right? So it's education at a very early stage. And that's why I'm so in love with this session today, right? It's, we have these young girls that are so eager to learn, and hearing from, folks like us that have built careers in STEM. I'm hopeful that this will leave an impression on these young girls to continue on, and pursue careers in this field, right? But that is number one. We have to create awareness at a very early stage for the young girls. In addition to creating awareness, right, we have to provide support, right? It's, they could be aware of everything out there, but if they don't have access to, educational opportunities, access to, be it internships, programs, schools, right, then it's pointless, right? So we have to provide that support to get them educated, um, and to really, help them take a lot of what they learn and start to put it into practice, right? That support needs to be there, for development. And then, as they get into this field, I think, Aisha probably, or Chama, maybe was one of you that talked about retention. It is so easy to feel disillusioned once you get into the STEM field, right? Just because of a lack of representation of minorities, representation of women, right? It is so easy to just feel like, gosh, I don't belong here. Let me go do something else, right? So once young girls get into this career field, we have to provide support, right? That's in form of role models, that's in form of programs that specifically address bias, programs that specifically, are catered towards minorities to keep to retain them, programs that promote diversity and inclusion. These things are critical for retention, right? Because otherwise, what you start to see is, yes, we, at a young age, women get, and young girls get interested in STEM, but as you track their career, you see they start to drop out, right? That doesn't benefit anyone. So we have to address that, the issues around retaining girls and women in this technology field, right? And it includes everything, as I mentioned, from um, providing role models, promoting diversity, having very specific programs that are geared towards retention, for minorities. So, these are some of the ideas that I have around just things that we could do, to start to tackle this issue of, underrepresentation of women in STEM fields.
We need to create awareness. We need to provide support, do things with intention. And also, obviously, I think when we're looking at lack of representation, and this is one thing that I'll say to all the girls in this room, all 50 of you are representative of the woman in STEM. All 50 of you. Clap for yourselves, because it's so important for you to understand this. In any room that you are in, you can be a voice for girls in STEM. Anywhere you are, whether it's at home, in school, the office, later on in the future, you can always be that voice. And I think that's what we have here, representation of women that are willing to do the work and are willing to teach you, to get you to understand why this is very important. I can see, where are my physics people? I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. All of you are sitting down, but your time will soon come. Huh? We only have 3 people. so far that had selected physics, and I would like to understand why. I think when it comes to solutions, also, apart from the individuals doing their thing of supporting and catalyzing change, I think there's something Judith said that about what's the word I would use? The value chain, looking at the value chain of STEM. I call myself the creator general of the Center for Art and Creative Talent. And one thing that we've realized is the tech, the STEM, in fact, the whole world needs creative people. So Chioma, I don't know if you remember the story of the young doctor who had done the drawings of a baby, but showcasing Black children. I don't know if you remember that. Are you here? Ilmi, can we get Chioma on?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was
Can you hear
saying
me
that
now?
I do remember the doctor. And
Yes.
he said that there was no representation for Black in modeling, actually. So he started creating models. Yes, he started creating models, using, darker skin. And yeah, I saw that. I really, really, really inspirational. As a matter of fact, just to talk about something else that matters to us, a friend of mine was talking about going on YouTube and looking for pregnancy content from Black African women. And what she saw was more about like Black Americans, Black British people, Black French, etc., but nothing that had to do with people who were eating the same types of things she was eating, living through the same types of conditions that she was living, on the continent of Africa, all of those types of things. So yes, there is, when we talk about role models, and I'm glad that, Judith talked about introducing it early. People must start to see, we must invest in showing young girls the ways in which technology can affect their lives on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's very highfalutin, web development, app development, all of those types of things. But tell me about a fan that I can see. Tell me about a door. There's even some technology in making doors, because you need to calculate and be sure that the door will close. So when we talk to young children, we use things that they can see, things that they can relate with, things that their minds can grasp. We even sometimes we use cartoons, and we tell them even the production of this cartoon to make this picture move. There's technology here, and you can become the person who makes this move.
Thank you. So I wanted to pick that boy because with how far science has gone, with the history, and we're talking thousands of years of research and things like that, right? And it's in 2022, or was it 2021, that this was a big deal, right? And that just shows you when you're looking at things from a privileged perspective, you don't really realize, oh, that this isn't inclusive enough. And sometimes it takes us, and I'm saying this to the girls because sometimes it takes what you are looking for to make you realize that people like you do not have that representation, or you're not represented properly, or this system or space, not just the STEM space, is not inclusive enough, and you can create that voice. So now I want to give it up to the girls. I want the girls to ask a couple of questions. For those in the room, if you would like to ask a question to any of us, please lift your hand for them. Before I come back to my physics people. Do we have any questions, girls? We must really be doing an exceptional job. Clap for me, please. Clap for me. Clap for me. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, Judith, I'll give that to you. What do you mean by a network or a community? Good question. You can hand the mic to the second lady before Judith. Let's have the second question.
question is, while we were entering the program, we were asked to side students, and there's a STEM program in which says that we have told us that not only science students are meant to be involved in STEM. So I don't understand, like, how can art students also be involved in STEM when STEM is just science based?
If you heard her properly, can you say that again? She said, how can art students be involved in STEM? Did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Judith, let's start with you, please. Answer the first question.
Okay. So the first question about what do I mean by network or
Community, network and
community?
community, I believe.
Right,
Yes.
right. In simple terms, it's the people that you know and the people that know you. Okay, so think about even starting from your own family, right? Whether it's your parents, your siblings, your uncles, aunties, your extended relatives, right? Going on to your friends, your classmates, the people that you're sitting in that room with, right? Your teachers at school, the people that have put on this program, the panelists, right? In this program, we are all part of your network, right? The people that you meet on a daily basis, that you start to build relationships with, that you build friendships with, right? That's all your network. Because you can reach out to them when you need something, when you need help, when you need advice, when you need guidance, right? You can reach out to all of these people because they all have very different experiences that can help you, right? Figure out whatever problem you're facing. And that's the thing, right? Is when we have challenges, when we encounter problems, there's always someone else that has probably faced and gone through that same issue. And so when you reach out to your community, to your network, right? They're going to help you overcome that same problem. So that's what I mean, right? By, you know, building a community and utilizing that community, right? It's just maintaining friendships, maintaining relationships with people that you meet every day. So hopefully that helps. Does that make sense?
Yes, Judith, it does. I think I'll add that when you look at your network, you look at it's a give and take situation. It's not always one sided. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But you should be able to stay in touch with people. Like she said, maintain and nurture relationships because you never know when you're going to need them. Or, for example, I was nominated to speak here. It's based on people that I know. Sometimes it can be social media. Sometimes it can be, just being able to put yourself out there and say, this is what I do. But having a community within the sector that you are in, it really helps because, for example, I want to create, I'm not a STEM person, right? And I've seen something that I want to do. The first person I'll think of is who are the people that I know within the STEM community. And I reach out to them. They tell me about another person who tells me about another person, and the value chain just keeps growing, which could also support your solution. I think, Chioma, can you get the second question? I should be answering that, but I'll leave that to you. How does art support?
I actually think it's a great question because I started out trying to study STEM, but I was terrible at math. I was very terrible at it. As a matter of fact, I'm still quite bad with numbers today. Um, yes, I'm quite terrible with numbers. I remember that, my father got us lesson teachers, and God bless this man. He would teach us and teach us and teach us, and I would understand in that moment. But if you ask me anything, so he'd teach us and then he would go. And then in the evening, my father would return from work and ask us, okay, what did this man teach you? And and this would be barely 2-3 hours from when the lesson teacher left. I wouldn't remember anything, or I would remember, but I wouldn't know how to communicate it. And so sometimes when I tell people that I actually wanted to be a doctor, it makes them laugh because I excelled more in English, in literature, in government. Funnily, I took science courses and arts courses. When I wrote JAMB, I wrote science courses and I didn't do well at all. And so I think it's okay to let people know that there's more than one route into STEM. There's more than one
Yeah.
route into a technology career. As a matter of fact, there are technology careers that are not technical. And so that awareness and opening them up to the opportunities that exist within technical roles and non-technical roles is just absolutely incredible. For instance, a ton of the work that I do right now is around advocacy for inclusion of women into technology. And that's a whole, in quotes, technical, non-technical role, but within technology spaces. So the
Yeah.
opportunities are vast. We just need to let our young ladies know what exactly they are and what the routes into them can be.
Okay, so just to, disturb you a little bit more, when you say advocacy, because I just don't want to assume that they know what we mean. So if we say advocacy, can you break that down?
So, for instance, in 2018, my organization worked with the European Union to create a platform where people could go to report incidents of violence. And so this platform had a live chat bot where people could go and type. And even though there's nobody on the other end typing back at you, we had pre-installed or pre-programmed a number of questions and responses. So you could literally report a case of violence via that platform. Um, that's one form of advocacy because you are not only saying, oh, people don't have a way to report when they experience violence, you are creating a solution from where information can be harvested to take care of these people that have suffered violence. In
True.
2020, I convened something called the State of Emergency GBV movement, which brought together 11 organizations to get citizens to talk to their legislators and talk to their governors and tell them, we want to be able to live in our communities and in our states as women, as girls, free from all forms of violence, whether it is physical violence, verbal abuse, sexual violence, whatever it is. And again, we employ digital tools, some of them as simple as infographics, which are pictures that have numbers, to show people this is the extent of abuse that women and girls are suffering in various states across the country. And simple things like that. I think from everything I've said today, you will understand that I'm big on simple things because the majority of Nigeria today has 49% of its people not literate. So you can't
True.
be talking highfalutin when you want to implement any of these changes. So I tend to take very simple approaches. What is the simplest way to pass information? And so I guess that's what advocacy means to me. It is engaging via the platforms where we are most at home, using WhatsApp, using social media. It is creating tools, creating platforms. There's a tool we're building now, which should help ministries of women's affairs and justice across the country impute information that tells us just how many incidents of violence we have per month,
Yeah.
per year, because that data doesn't exist. That is what advocacy means to me, creating solutions that can stand the test of time and make changes for the greatest number of people.
Oh, thank you so much, Choma. I would love to break down on that, but we're running out of time, and I believe Lillian is now in the room. Lillian, are you with us? Excellent.
Yes,
Hello,
good
ma'am.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome. It's sad that you missed the beginning of this, but welcome. We would love to hear from you, your background, and how you got into STEM.
Okay, I didn't actually miss anything. I think it was my camera that was malfunctioning, so I was with
Oh,
everyone
we
was
didn't hear.
following
There was
along.
no sound
So
that we
how
can hear.
I started into STEM. Actually, I started like as an artist. I draw, I paint, but just like everyone then in the 90s, in the early 90s, But deep down within me, I knew I wasn't going to be a medical doctor. So, but I was always interested in art, things that you could just bring out from nothing. So when I was 8, my dad brought a computer back home, and I got fascinated by that box. And I was just like the way people are now glued to their phones, I was glued to my system. So that was how the interest began, and I loved young. I did a lot of things. I started with programming. I started with data management, Excel, all that. But at the end of the day, I knew that design was something that I really loved to do, bringing something out of nothing, just having a concept and then making people see visually your ideas and then implementing them. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Lillian. So what are your thoughts so far? Because we're gonna have to round up soon. So if you can give us your thoughts on this topic and also maybe some advice to the girls moving forward, please.
yeah, the problem is that there is no girls are not really interested in tech, not because they can't do it, but because they are not exposed, should I say, exposed to resources and to learning resources or opportunities that would actually push them forward. So and that is why we're having this event too. So it's just to build that interest, that's to just light that fire within them, that they can do anything that they put their mind into. And then when it comes to tech, I remember I was trying to convince my dad that I wanted to study computer science, and he asked me why. I thought he wanted to study medicine, and I was like, well, with computer science, I can work everywhere. I can be whoever. I can create a law app, a court app. I can create
Yeah.
a health system. I can create a school management system. So working in tech is like it's like being everywhere. It's like learning things. You're always learning. You can work anywhere and be anything you want. So to the girls, I want them to dream big. Nothing is too small. Like when I started out, I couldn't afford a computer. I bought my first computer for 25,000 naira, and in fact I even paid instrumentally to even get that, because I was still in school and my parents didn't think that I should have a computer, but I wanted to start doing things at that point. So I saved from my pocket money and I got a laptop. There was no battery, but I was but now I'm using so many gadgets, I'm solving problems, I'm doing that. So do not look down on yourself. Dream big. You can go to any limits you want to get to.
Oh, thank you so much, Lillian, for that. Everybody clap for her now, because that's really what she's saying, that you guys can be whoever you want to be, right? But we have problems along the way, and we just see them as hurdles and we continue. And one thing that I've gotten from this webinar is that most of us cannot aspire to what we do not know. I always say this all the time. And back in the day, I used to say this from the perspective of either arts or politics, and now STEM, because you can't aspire to what you do not know. If you don't know about something, you have to be a pure creative who can imagine it in their head and say, oh, I think I can be this or that. But most people, it's when they see their mind gets triggered to innovate and to move forward on many of these things. I don't know if we have more time. Ladies, are we ready to go? Let's confirm. I don't think I
We have a contribution from a girl and also a question. Another question.
Do we have any questions in the room? Anybody else?
One more question and one contribution. Okay, good everyone. I just want to add one thing on order from what you said. Women, um, women are allowed to live by choice, not by chance. To make change is not excuses, but to motivate alone and to be useful, not use, and to excel, not compete. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Does anybody else have a comment? That was good.
We have one more question. Hello everyone. My question is that what can be done for a girl child to make a difference from a male child technologically?
Sorry,
What
can you
can
say
be
that
done?
again?
Okay. What can be done to make a girl child compete with a male child technologically?
Compete with a male child technologically. Okay, Lillian, do you want to take that? I think all of us should take that, to be honest. Let's hear everybody's thoughts on this. This is a gender issue. So, Lillian,
Okay, yes, but I didn't get the first question. The first question from the other lady.
no, she made a statement. It wasn't a
Okay,
question. Yes.
okay. Then addressing the other question. First of all, when I understand that I'm not competing with men.
Thank you,
It's
Lillian.
not a war. Yes, it's not a war. So you have to put in mind. What we want is right. So you want to be able to have the same opportunities as your male counterpart. But then that is why we're having this. This is one point. We're trying to build that interest. We're telling you now that you can do it. We're giving you resources. We're giving you platform. If you look around, there are no students. There are no male students around. So we are being intentional. So first is being intentional. And another thing is that we,
Yes.
we can't make you, I can't buy all of you computers and expect all of you to be into tech. The interest has to also come from you, the passion comes from you, the dream comes from you. But what we can do for you is to build that platform for you. And this is what ICF, Venture Park, Tech Hub, um, shelter, home shelter, if
Modern
I'm not
shelter.
mistaken, are helping to push the girl child forward. Yes, modern shelter, sorry, to push the girl child forward and create that platform for her to see the opportunities and then build that dream within her.
Thank you, Lillian. Judith?
We have more questions coming.
Oh, we do? Okay, so let's hold on to that. Next question, please, so the others can take it.
My question is, how can we make our parents see that technology also is as important as
Is just as important as what?
other careers?
As important as other careers. Choma?
I like the way you jumped at me. Can you please repeat the end of that question? I didn't hear all of it.
I could tell you were very relaxed. I'm like, let me come for you. So she said, how can we convince our parents that STEM is as important as other careers? I got that right, yes? Yeah.
I think that the first thing is to tell your parents that this is what you have a passion for. It is also, remember what I said about using things around yourself to create instant knowledge or to create relativity. So tell your parents that you want to be able to build products that are useful in the home. You want to be able to understand how appliances work. You want to be able to understand how our bodies work and how technology can interact with our bodies. You want to be able to understand how cars move. You want to probably build a car. You want to be known as the young Nigerian woman who built the first, maybe self driving car, maybe car that only runs on electricity. You want to be the person that builds a prototype that cures cancer or cures HIV. So telling them your dreams, what you want to do, and how that benefits not only you as an individual, but them as your parents, your community, maybe even your state, is always a great way to start that conversation. Also, don't forget what I said, that even if you don't start out, I think one of us on this panel today is a self-taught developer. So you can, if because we must be realistic and say that in some instances, parents will say, "I'm the person paying your secondary school fees. I'm the
Yep.
person paying your university fees. Therefore, you must be this and that." You have the internet. Instead of spending all of our time on social media or maybe playing games, let's take
Mm-hmm.
online courses. Let's learn some of these skills by ourselves. I'm currently taking an online course in cybersecurity. I didn't study that in university. I didn't study that for a master's degree. It's not on my list of modules for my PhD, but I'm studying it on the side. So instead of scrolling on Instagram or dancing on TikTok and doing challenges, go on platforms and learn new skills. That's what I'd say.
I'm really happy with that. I would have said the exact same thing. I think for the young lady, I would add that even those of us in the arts had the same problem. When I wanted to become, I was a full-time photographer in the past. And when I wanted to do that, my parents did not think, well, that was a great idea, right? And sometimes people are more parents are worried for you. They want you to have a career that they can hold on to. They want to be able to guide you in life. And sometimes when they don't see the value on certain things, it comes across as if they don't care, but that's not necessarily the case. For those of us who have the opportunity to be sent to school, you have the opportunity to take the time to learn also. And if you're committed for long enough, they will also see it that, okay, this girl is actually very serious about this thing. And that's really what happens many of the times. Do we have another question?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is, once you have an interest in STEM and affordability is the issue, that the only issue you have, but that interest, that desire for STEM is there. So what do you do in that
I think if you remember what Lillian said, Lillian, maybe if you listen to what she said earlier, and Lillian can help reiterate, he mentioned that she couldn't even afford a laptop, right? And her parents didn't think she needed a laptop at the time. So maybe Lillian, what you can do for us is tell us how you saved. I know you saved, you said you saved from pocket money. There are many who may not be able to have pocket money or are even having to pay for school for themselves, right?
Yes.
I think that's
So
where
yes,
this lady is coming from the perspective of what if you do not have the
yes.
money
So
at all?
secondary school, and I would assume that you are in either SS1 or SS2. So I would not advise you to disobey your parents at this point. Earning my is in fact you're not at the age of earning. You should be above 18
Yeah.
to earn. Yes. So, but if you have pocket money, it's something you could discuss with your parents. If they give you pocket money every month, you could discuss with them and say, okay, I'm giving up my pocket money for the next 5 months. I want to buy a laptop. Now, this is a conversation you would have with your parents. But I was in 300 level when I got my first laptop. So I was in school and they were sending me 15,000 every month for my feeding. So then I could save 7,000, and just cut down on my feeding, my luxurious laptop. So at this point, I wouldn't advise you to push harder. What you could do is you could read. There are materials that you could get that would enlighten you and tell you more. There are programs you could join. Just like my colleague said, you could, check online. I know that you go online to do TikTok. So if you can do TikTok, if you have access to TikTok, then you have access to websites that teach programming, teach graphic design. Some of them are just small lessons that you can even use your mobile phone to do, which we are going to discuss later
Yeah.
on how to get access to those resources. But at your age now, what I would advise you to do is to do a lot of reading, a lot of reading and do a lot of listening. See, there is no level of education that is useless. We're not telling you to do your secondary school. Your secondary school is very, very important process. If I did not
Yes.
attend secondary school and I didn't get my degree, I wouldn't even have the experience or the networking, ability to get to where I am. So every step
Yeah.
is important. You have to take that step. But right now, you could do a lot of reading.
Well, I think for me, I'll add to this because on a personal level, when I wanted to become a photographer, I think I saved and I was buying equipment for like 7 years. I think if you genuinely believe in something, you put your all in it. So for 7 years, I was quietly saving, buying a lens, buying a camera, before I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do this full time. So I think for those who may love certain aspects of it, you start to save if you do have the opportunity. And I think it also helps your mind think creatively on how to make money because if you really want to get something done, the brain starts to work. Do we have any more questions? I think we are out of time.
We have 3 questions.
Okay, so let's finish with those three.
Okay. My question is, first of all, I can see that educate a child transform the nation. What about those girls out there that live in rural communities and they don't have the privilege to go to school? What about them? Do they get the opportunity to hear about STEM and know if they have the choice to go into the STEM world? Thank you. I'll take one more question. Just this is the last question.
That's the last one.
Yes, yes,
That's the last one. So how about
yes.
those in the village? Out of my ladies, who would like to take that? Those in the village that do not have access. Any of my three panelists can take that. Someone's phone is ringing.
Uh, okay. So I would like to first of all say, well, I'm seeing someone that loves people and loves community development. So that I would like to
Yes.
commend her for thinking about her, other children that do not have those opportunities. And this is why we want you to study hard and also participate in empowering these children or educating these children. If That's what ICF does. ICF is interested in children, is interested in education and educating children, especially the less privileged. So I would say that my executive director, which is in the audience right now, is doing a lot to help children through ICF get education, not just education and then like this kind of events that we're having now. So but I'll also put it to you, as a young girl growing up, you could make it a goal that when you turn 20, you want to sponsor three girls in a program, or when you're done with your own learning, you can start your own club. You can start your tech club where you can invite all these other girls that are not in school, that do not have those opportunities, and have those kind of programs with them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lillian. I think with that, I think we even went 30 minutes overboard, right? Thank you so much to all our panelists. Thank you for our supporters. Thank you to the Executive Director of Ilmi Children's Fund, Mariam Augi Abdul Mumin, for putting this together. I would like to say thank you to all the supporters. Thank you to the girls in the room, because really, if you didn't show up, then we wouldn't be having this. Put your hands up if you learned something new today. Excellent. So I think, ladies, if you see, that sounds like success to me. Looks like success to me. Thank you so much, girls. And I will definitely ensure that we will continue to follow on your journey. I know you will be doing great things in the near future. And just continue to be open to learning, continue to learn about each other. Right now, for the lady who talked about network, you have a network of over 60 people, I can tell, in that room. Everybody there is a possible contact for you in the future. So get to know yourselves, get to know each other properly, exchange details, and we hope to have you back soon, I'm sure, to tell us your many stories. Thank you so much for joining us at ILMI Children's Fund, and we look forward to a new one in the future. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you to our panelists, Shawa, Judith, and Vivian. It was lovely having you. We learned a lot. We want to say thank you again. Thank you for speaking and educating us on embracing inclusivity in STEM for social impact and innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.